Ladies and gents, boys and girls, welcome back. Your Forces and How to Use Them by Christian Larson. One of my favorite all-time occult books, or maybe a little more esoteric than occult. It's awesome. It's been super good so far. I'm stoked to get going on it. We got one person in the room. Hey, one person. What's up? Talk to me. How you doing? How's your day going? Are you enjoying yourself? Hopefully you're doing all right. Hopefully nothing. The world isn't collapsing all around you. And if it is, I don't know. I got nothing for you. Tie a knot. Welcome everyone. So there was something that let me check the comments, make sure. Blessing. Of Stone. Hello there, lovely. Hope you're doing well. Shaw Sykes, blessing. Jackie T, what's cracking? What was I saying? Oh, I was saying that I wanted to start off with like a cool little spiel, and I forgot what the spiel was. It'll come to me. Everyone slap the like button for me. That would help the cause greatly. It broadcasts this live to more people when you guys hit the like button. And so let's see how many squad members we can get in here. And get you guys selves some water or some tea or something. Chapter might be long, might be short. I don't know. I haven't read it yet. I'm reading it with you guys as we go. Not an easy feat, I assure you, but I've grown to really enjoy it. I have. These readings are fun, aren't they? I hope so. And if you're listening to this outside of the live, thanks for chilling. Nice to see you guys. Take your shoes off, stay a while. Get comfy. Light some candles. We got some candles going over here. Straight out of the Etsy shop. Some beeswax candles. Shall we begin? Your Forces and How to Use Them. Chapter 19. Sir Christian Larson coming in with the heat once again. Let me know if the music is too loud to you guys. I tend to overdo the music in the background. Nice, Jackie. I'm busy manifesting and clearing today. QQ, clear that shit. Manifest that shit. Empress Infinite, hello. Witchy breathe. Let's crack it, mango. I'm doing good, Shaw. I've been scatterbrained, understandably, but killing it. We just stay killing it. Sometimes we have to work a little extra hard to kill it. I've been working a little extra hard lately, but it's cool because we're killing it. And Empress Infinite, welcome. Tell us a little bit about yourselves while I do the introduction for the book. How about that? Empress Infinite is going to tell us how she got here, why she stayed, and where she wants to see this channel go in the future. Can you do that for me, Empress Infinite? Diving deep once again, and then I'll introduce tonight's book and chapter, and we will begin. All right. Without further ado, I am your host, Keith, man of letters, knowledge, information, and entertainment, hopefully at the least. Welcome back to another reading by candlelight. Bada bing, bada boom. Oh, damn it. One of them went out. I have to reload that. And we're reading Your Forces and How to Use Them by Christian Larson, written in, I believe, 1911. So we're getting some early 20th century spiritual knowledge, which means most of this stuff was coming to formulation really around the turn of the century. So we're talking like Civil War, 1860s, and then the next 40 years of developing thought, and then turn the corner into the 1900s, boom, this book was written. Just to give you some context, the coolest part about this text is that it's super old, and it gives us a glimpse into the minds of our predecessors, especially especially with the world like spirituality. It's an interesting world that that has a lot of weird niches. So it's cool to see the development. Um, dope. Well, with that being said, welcome everyone. Thanks for being here. Take shoes off. Subscribe if you're new. And let's begin. Chapter 19. The higher forces in man. Follow the vision of the soul. Be true to your ideals no matter what may happen now. Then things will take a turn, and the very things you wanted to happen will happen. The ideal has a positive drawing power towards the higher, the greater, and the superior. Whoever gives his attention constantly to the ideal, therefore, will steadily rise in the scale. Take things as they are today and proceed at once. Proceed at once. One more time for those of you in the back. Proceed at once to make them better. Expect every change to lead you to something better, and it will. As your faith is, so shall it be. To be human as not to be weak. To be human is to be all that there is in man, and the greatness that is contained in the whole of man is marvelous indeed. It is the most powerful among the forces of the human system that we least understand, and though this may seem unfortunate, it's not unnatural. All advancement is in the ascending scale. We learn the simplest things first and the least valuable in the beginning. Later on, we learn that which is more important. We find, therefore, the greatest forces among those that are almost entirely hidden. And for that reason, they are sometimes called the hidden forces, the finer forces, or the higher forces, or simply the force. I added that last part in because Star Wars wasn't written, but I feel like if he would have wrote this after, he would have included it. You're welcome, Larson. As it is in man, so it is also in nature. Correspondence. We find the most powerful among natural forces to be practically beyond comprehension. Electricity is an illustration. There is no greater force known in nature, and yet no one has thus far been able to determine what this force actually is. The same is true with regard to other natural forces. The greater they are and the more powerful they are, the more difficult it is to understand them. In the human system, there are a number of forces of exceptional value that we know nothing about. That is, we do not understand their real nature. But we can learn enough about the action, the purpose, and the possibilities of those forces to apply them to practical life. And it is practical application with which we are most concerned. Amen, Christian Larson. I'm going to read that last part one more time. And it is practical application with which we are most concerned. This is, you know what I just realized right now? Started reading Atlas Shrugged again because I never finished it. It's a super capitalist business type A logical book, almost to a fault. That's actually why it receives a lot of its criticism. Anywho, at the same time, the success of that book was based on practicality. They made it a point in the book Atlas Shrugged to not concern themselves with philosophy too much, because at the time the philosophy was everything is everything and it's all relative and there's no objective truth. That's what's being fought in the book. That there is no objective truth is the antagonist of Atlas Shrugged. And so as a result, the protagonists of the book are extremely practical, extremely objective speaking and thinking. Just how do we get from point A to point B? Fuck all the fluff and bullshit. And that's what I'm realizing is that I'm appreciating about these early 20th century authors of the occult and esotericism is that they do just that. It's all because at the beginning of the 20th century was the Industrial Revolution, right? We're hopping off of, we're talking Old West. 10 years before this book was written, dudes were hijacking trains via horseback and shooting them with old Winchester rifles. Like, Indians and shit were still killing people with bows and arrows on hikes when this book was written, you guys. I guess my point is, it's refreshing. Not that now is a bad thing, just that it's like I need to step out of it for a bit. And so it's refreshing, like cold water is on a hot day, like hot water is on a cold day. If you catch my drift. Yeah. So read old books. Read old books. I'm gonna check your guys' comments, make sure nothing weird's going on in the chat room. Oh, Lemuria, what up? Thank you for sharing Empress Infinite. We love Q, and we don't know who Osset is. And by we, I mean just myself. I do not have a mouse in my pocket. Carrying on, the field of the finer forces in mind may be termed the unconscious mental field, and the vastness of this field, as well as the possibilities of its functions, is realized when we learn that the greater part of our mental world is unconscious. We talk about this all the time, you guys. The elephant and the rider. The subconscious is the powerhouse of life, and the conscious is the direction of that power. Only a fraction of the mental world of man is on the surface or up in consciousness. The larger part is submerged in the depths of what might be called a mental sea of subconsciousness. All modern psychologists have come to this conclusion, and it is a fact that anyone can demonstrate in his own experience if he will take the time. In the conscious field of the human mind, we find those actions of which we are aware during what may be called our wide awake state. I'll read that again. That came out weird. My bad. In the conscious field of the human mind, we find those actions of which we are aware during what may be called our wide awake state, and they are seemingly insignificant in comparison with the actions of the vast unconscious world. Though our conscious actions are found to be highly important when we learn that it is the conscious actions that originate unconscious actions. And here, let us remember that it is our unconscious actions that determine our own natures, our own capabilities, as well as our own destiny. In our awakened state, we continue to think and act in a small mental field, but all of those actions are constantly having their own effect upon this vast unconscious field that is found beneath the mental surface. I forgot to tell you guys that this writer is smooth with it, and he starts off hella complex in the beginning of his chapters. So if you're kind of lost, like I am, pay attention, but also trust that he will unravel it later on in the chapter, because that's just his style. He's like hella poetic and extra in the beginning, and then he reels it in. These pineapple chili bites, dehydrated pineapple chili bites, are fuego. Okay. To realize the existence of this unconscious mental world and to realize our power to determine the actions of that world is to awaken within us a feeling that we are many times as great and as capable as we thought we were. And the more we think of this important fact, the larger becomes our conscious view of life and its possibilities. To illustrate the importance of the unconscious field and your finer forces, We will take the force of love. Bless you. No, no one understands the nature of this force, nor has anyone been able to discover its real origin or its actual possibilities. Nevertheless, it is a force that is tremendously important in human life. Its actions are practically hidden, and we do not know what constitutes the inner nature of those actions. But we do know how to control those actions in a measure for our own good, and we have discovered that when we do control and properly direct the actions of love, its value to everybody concerned is multiplied many times. It is the same with a number of other forces with which we are familiar. They act along higher or finer lines of human consciousness, and they are so far beyond ordinary comprehension that we cannot positively know what they are. But we do know enough about them to control them and direct them for our best and greatest good. In like manner, the unconscious mental field, though beyond scientific analysis, is sufficiently understood as to its modes of action, so that we can control and direct those actions as we may choose. When we analyze what comes forth from the unconscious field at any time, we find that it is invariably the result of something that we caused to be placed in that field during some past time. This leads up to the discovery of unconscious mental processes, and it is not difficult to prove the existence of such processes. Sounds like some old school Dark Night of the Soul stuff. Subconscious tapping and programming. Many a time, ideas, desires, feelings, or aspirations come to the surface of thought that we are not aware of having created at any time. We come to the conclusion, therefore, that they were produced by some unconscious process. But when we examine those ideas or desires carefully, we find that they are simply effects corresponding exactly with certain causes that we previously placed in action in our conscious world. I fucking love this a lot. He's like, so we'll have problems that are arising from the subconscious, and we know where they're coming from because it's the subconscious. It's hard. It's sort of hard. So we might have a tendency to be like, oh, well, it's just some subconscious stuff. I don't know what it is, so it must be. It's just who I am. It's just how I'm built, or how I was as a child, or whatever. But he's saying, actually, when we examine those things, that the conscious mind shows certain actions that program the subconscious mind to behave a certain way, to feel a certain way, to think a certain kind of way. And when we got this guy, this book was written about within a few years of the Kabbalion, so it doesn't surprise me that he talks like this. But neither the subconscious mind nor the conscious mind is any better. I'm not putting words in the author's mouth. This is my own thought. That they are both 100% even. They swing, so maybe it might be a little more this sometimes, might be a little more that sometimes, because we got rhythm going on. But the conscious mind has all the control of the power. You know what I mean? Like the unconscious is 99% of the raw energy that's going to take to do something, but what decides the direction of the unconscious to move in is the conscious mind. And so when you start doing certain actions and make certain choices, those choices generate frequencies that generate situations and people and conversations and actions, and you end up becoming that frequency. And then you start emanating that without your conscious will, and then you blame it on the subconscious mind, like, oh fuck, I don't know what's wrong. Oh, woe is me, I can't do anything. It's like, no, you done been doing shit this whole time, just in the wrong direction. You got caught up in that hypnotic rhythm that Napoleon Hill always talks about. The paragraph is dope because I like it because places more responsibility on the individual, but the added responsibility is only the ability to like direct and control your life, which I feel is not a bad trade-off for taking on responsibility. Everything good in the room? Yeah, music still good, stream still good. Everyone slap that like button for me, thank you kindly. Sweet, let's carry on. The correspondence between conscious and unconscious mental processes may be illustrated by a simple movement in physical action. If a physical movement began at a certain point and was caused to act with a circular tendency, it would finally come back to its starting point. It is the same with every conscious action that is deeply felt. It goes out into the vastness of the unconscious mental field, and having a circular tendency, as all mental actions do, it finally comes back to the point where it began, and in coming back brings with it the results of every unconscious experience through which it passed on its circular journey. To go into this subject deeply and analyze every phase of it would be extremely interesting. In fact, it would be more interesting than fiction. Ha! I see what you did there. It would require, however, a large book to do it justice. For this reason, we can simply touch upon the practical side of it, but will aim to make this brief outline sufficiently clear to enable anyone to direct his unconscious processes in such a way as to secure the best results. Every mental process or every mental action that takes place in our wide awake consciousness will, if it has depth of feeling or intensity, enter the unconscious field. And after it has developed itself according to the line of its original nature, will return to the conscious side of the mind. And here we will find the secrets of character building. Yeah, character building, right? Your character is basically your subconscious mind seeping through your pores. Everything that is done in the conscious fields to improve the mind, character, conduct, or thought will, if it has sincerity and depth of feeling, enter the unconscious field, and later will come back with fully developed qualities, which when in expression constitutes character. But the one day live in a world where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. Johanna? Oh, what's up? Oh, drop my phone. What's up, Johanna? Nice to see you. Thanks for dipping in. Nice to see you. I think I haven't seen you on the live, Johanna, or period, in years. I hope you're doing well. Many a man, however, after trying for some time to improve himself and seeing no results, becomes discouraged. Obviously, he forgets that some time always intervenes between the period of sowing and the period of reaping. Anyone home? What he does in the conscious fields to improve himself constitutes the sowing when those actions enter the conscious field to be developed. And when they come back, it may be weeks or months later, the reap time has arrived. Many a time, after an individual has given up self-improvement, he discovers after a considerable period that good qualities are beginning to come to the surface in his nature, thereby proving conclusively that what he did months ago along that line was not in vain. The results of past efforts are beginning to appear. We have all had similar experiences, and we would carefully analyze such experiences would we not find that not a single conscious process that is sufficiently deep or intense to become an unconscious process will fail to come back finally with its natural results. Many a time, ideas come into our minds that we wanted weeks ago and could not get them at the time, but we did place in action certain deep, strong desires for those ideas at that particular time. And though our minds were not prepared to develop those ideas at once, they finally were developed and came to the surface. The fact that this process never fails indicates the value of giving the mind something to work out for future need. This is cool. Interestingly worded. If we have something that we want to do months ahead, we should give the mind definite instruction now and make those instructions so deep that they will become unconscious processes. Those unconscious processes will, according to directions, work out the ideas and plans that we want for that future work, and in the course of time will bring results to the surface. And to go into detail along the line of this part of our study would also be more interesting than fiction, but again, a large book would be required to do it justice. However, if we make it a practice to place in action our best thoughts, our best ideas, and our best desires now and every moment of the eternal now, we will be giving the unconscious mental field something good to work for at all times. And as soon as each product is finished or ready to be delivered from the unconscious world, it will come to the surface and will enter the conscious mind ready for use. Hold on, I'm trying to figure out if I need to drink a glass of water right now because this chapter is crazy long. You might have to break this up into 2 videos. You guys having any drink, any wine, any tea, some good old fashioned water? You burning some oregano? How are y'all enjoying your Sunday night? Or Monday morning? Greetings, Zero the Infinite. Welcome. Welcome everyone else in the room. Thank you guys kindly for keeping it real, staying chill in the comment section, being engaging, being homies. Empress Infinite, Quantum Love. Quantum Love. Lemuria, nice to see you, homies. King Lion. Philolith Cypher Unk, Biracial Root Witch. Merrimet. Thanks for joining. All right, let's keep cracking. This chapter's long as fuck. We're like 20% of the way done. He goes on to say, Sir Christian Larson, some of the best books that have been written have been worked out during months of unconscious mental processes. The same is true with regard to inventions, dramas, musical compositions, business plans, and in fact, anything and everything of importance that could be mentioned. Every idea, every thought, every feeling, every desire, every mental action may, under certain circumstances, produce an unconscious process corresponding with itself. And this process will, in every instance, bring back to consciousness the result of its work. And when we realize this and realize the vast possibilities of the unconscious field, we will see the advantage of placing in action as many good unconscious processes as possible. Give your unconscious mental world something important to do every hour. Place a new seed in that field every minute. It may take weeks or months before that seed brings forth its fruit, but it will bring forth, after its kind, in due time, without fail. We understand, therefore, how we can build character by sowing seeds of character in this field, and how we can, in the same way, build a desirable conduct, a different disposition, different mental tendencies, stronger and greater mental faculties, and more perfect talents along the line to direct these unconscious processes. It is necessary to apply the finer forces of the system, as it is those forces that invariably determine how those processes are to act. Those forces, however, are very easily applied, as all that is necessary in the beginning is to give attention to the way we feel. The way we feel determines largely what our finer forces are to be and how they are to act. And this is not an hour, and there is not an hour we do not feel certain energies at work in our system. All the finer forces are controlled by feeling, Try to feel what you want done either in the conscious or the unconscious mental fields. And you will place in action forces that corresponds to what you want done. Those forces will enter the unconscious mental world and produce processes through which the desired results will be created. Whenever you want to redirect any force that is highly refined, take notes. I'll be more, it's funny. I'll take extra care with this paragraph because I know I saw someone said they were taking notes, and I have a feeling this is going to be an important one. Whenever you want to redirect any force that is highly refined, right? So if it's highly refined, we're talking the conscious mind, because that's one of the roles of the conscious mind, is to take the infiniteness of the subconscious mind and get it to be laser focused so that the thing can become manifest. So for something to be highly refined, it must pass through the filter of the conscious mind. So whenever you want to redirect any force that is highly defined, you must feel the way you want. You must feel the way you want that forces to act. To illustrate, we will suppose you have certain emotions in your mental world that are not agreeable. To give the energies of those emotions a new and more desirable force of action, change your emotions by giving your whole attention in trying to feel such emotions as you may desire. And here let us remember that every emotion that comes up in the system is teeming with energy. But as most emotions continue to act without any definite control, we realize how much energy is wasted through uncurbed emotions. I'm going to read that. And here, let us remember that every emotion that comes up in the system is teeming with energy. But as most emotions continue to act without any definite control, we realize how much energy is wasted through uncurbed emotions. Because if the emotions are energy, powerful energy, and you have no control over them, then you have no control over your own energy, which is your power to create, to change, to not change. See, everyone's talking about change, like, oh, change, everyone's got to change, I want to change. Well, there is a energy and there is a quality of energy specific to not changing. Like, say you have great habits, and your diet's on point, your business practices are on point, your following up is on point. Like, you want to maintain that too, right? So we must cultivate the power to not change as much as to change. Controlled chaos is what it is what working with the masculine and feminine qualities is like. Anywho, where was I? We know from experience that whenever we give way to our feelings, we become weak. The reason is that uncontrolled feeling wastes energy. And a great many people who are very intense in their feelings actually become sick whenever they give way to strong or deep emotions. On the other hand, emotions that are controlled and properly directed not only prevent waste, but will actually increase the strength of mind and body. Here is a good practice. Whenever you feel the way you do not wish to feel, begin to think deeply and in the most interesting manner possible. I can't stress how he says interesting. I'm saying I love how maybe it's just him or how they wrote back then, but it's like, I don't know. Just interesting is a great fucking world for this world, for this sort of world that we exist in, and it's not used enough. It's not. There's a quality of the word interesting and the emotion of it and the practice of it and the acknowledgement of it that's something special. That's my rant on the word interesting. Anywho, of those things that you wish to accomplish, if you can throw your whole soul, so to speak, into those new directions, you will soon find your undesired feelings disappearing completely. Every individual should train himself to feel the way he wants to feel. Every individual should train themselves to feel what they want to feel. And this is possible if they will always direct the attention to something desirable whenever undesired feelings come up. With your soul, through this practice, they will soon get such full control over their feelings that they will always feel the way they want to feel, no matter what the circumstances may be. He will thus gain the power not only of controlling his emotions and using constructively all those energies that invariably appear in his emotions, but he will also have found the secret of continued happiness. Whenever mental energies moves in a certain direction, it tends to build up power for good along that line. We realize, therefore, that the value of directing all our attention upon those things in mind, character, and life that we wish to build and develop. Thank you for the book title, Richie. Breathe, appreciate that. Carrying on. Actually, let me get some water first. How you guys doing over there? Stretch. You guys want to get up and stretch a bit? We've been streaming 36 minutes. I feel like that's a good enough time to stretch out the old ones and twos. Not sure why, but whenever I stretch, like give a good healthy stretch and twist and bone pop, my heart beats super fast, like it races. You guys do that? Where you get a good stretch in, like you stand a good stretch, and your heart just goes. All right. In building character, we find the results to be accumulative. That is, we make an effort to improve our life or conduct and thereby produce an unconscious process, which will later on give us more strength of character to be and live the way we wish to live and be. This in turn will enable us to produce more and stronger unconscious processes along the line of character building, which will finally return with a greater number of good qualities. The result of this action will be to give us more power to build or still greater character. And so this process may be continued indefinitely. The same is true with regard to building the mind. The more you build the mind, the greater becomes your mental power to build a still greater mind. But in each case, it is the unconscious process that must be developed in order that the greater character or greater mind may be developed from within. In this connection, it is well to remember that the principal reason why so many people fail to improve along any line is because their desires or efforts for improvement are not sufficiently deep, not sufficiently strong to become unconscious processes. To illustrate, it is like placing seed on a stony ground. If the seed is not placed in good, deep soil, it will not grow. You may desire for self-improvement for days, but if those desires are weak or superficial, they will not enter the unconscious field. And any action, however good it may be, if it fails to enter the unconscious field, will also fail to produce results along the line of self-improvement. With regard to the building of character, we must also remember that character determines in a large measure the line of action of all the other forces in the human system. If your character is strong and well developed, every force that you place in action will be constructive. If your character is weak, the opposite happens. This is not true in the moral field alone, but also in the field of mental achievement. If the character is weak, your ability will be mostly misdirected, no matter how hard you may work or how sincere you may be in your effort to do your best. All right, so that might be a little whatever. Uh, the sort of why do bad things always happen to me? The woe is me person, right? I've been the woe is me. I will continue to be the woe is me. I don't mean to like dropping the hammer on you guys or anything. But for those of you who are the woe is me, why do I'm such a good person? Why do good things happen to bad people? Well, maybe this could be part of it. He said, if the character is weak, your ability will be mostly misdirected no matter how hard you may work or how sincere you may be in your effort to do your best. This explains why a great many people do not realize their ideals. They have paid no attention to character building, and therefore nearly every effort that they may have made in trying to work up towards their ideals has been misdirected and sent astray. Whatever our ideals may be, therefore, or how great our desires may be to realize those ideals, we must first have character. And even though we may be able to place in action the most powerful forces in the human system, we will not get results until we have character. It is character alone that can give the powers of man constructive direction. And it is a well-known fact that those people who have a strong, firm, well-developed character easily move from the good to the better, no matter the circumstances. Cosmic Gene, what up? Happy rising. All right. Oh, Champs-Élysées. Oh, Champs-Élysées. I spent some time in Paris. It was super cool. I did a little solo week-long excursion in the city, and it was dope. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed Paris and France as a whole. Anyway, let's see if we're gonna wrap this up anytime soon. Damn. With all thy faults, I love thee still. Uh-oh. I lost my spot. Hold on. Shall we proceed? Ooh, good luck. Good luck with the text link. If you guys are following along, okay, for those of you following along with your text, turn to page 139, chapter 2, in the David Reynolds edition C. On page 68 if you have the Rogers edition, 2016 through 18. Rachel, will you read, please? Okay, carrying on. What may be called the higher forces in man act invariably through our most sublime states of consciousness. And As it is these forces that enable man to become or accomplish more than the average, it is highly important that we attain the power to enter sublime consciousness at frequent intervals. Ooh, juicy. No man or woman of any worth was ever known who did not have experience in these sublime states. In fact, it is impossible to rise above the ordinary in life or achievement without drawing more or less upon the higher realms of consciousness. People are sometimes criticized for not being on the earth all the time, but it is necessary to get above the earth occasionally in order to find something worthwhile to live for and work for while upon the earth. The most powerful forces in human life can be drawn down to earth for practical use. But to get them, we must go to the heights frequently. No one can write music unless his consciousness touches the sublime. No one can write real poetry unless he has the same experience. No one can evolve ideas worthwhile unless his mind transcends the so-called practical sphere of action. And no individual can arise in the world of attainment and achievement unless his mind dwells almost constantly on the verge of the sublime. Examine the minds of people of real worth. People who have something in them, people who are beyond the average, people who are rising in the scale, people whom we truly admire, people that we look up to, people who occupy high positions, positions that they have actually won through merit. I like how we noted that. And we find in every instance that their minds touch frequently the sublime state of consciousness. When we touch that state, our minds are drawn up above the ordinary, and mental actions are developed and worked out that are superior to ordinary or average mental actions. It's therefore simply understood that experience in sublime consciousness, if properly employed, will invariably make man greater and better. When we look upon a man that we can truthfully say is a real man, we find that something unusual has been or is being expressed in his personality. And that something unusual is hidden in every personality. It is a hidden power, a hidden force, which, when placed in action, gives men superior worth, both as to character, ability, and life. Real men and real women, people who are real in the true sense of the term, are always born from the sublime state of consciousness. That is, they have, through coming in contact with higher regions of thought, evolved greater worth in their minds and personalities. And as this possibility is within reach of every man and woman, we see the importance of dealing thoroughly with these higher powers in human nature. It's getting good, huh? It's getting good. What? It's so true. So true. Whenever we touch those finer states in the upper regions of the mind, we invariably feel that we have gained something superior, something that we did not possess before, and the gaining of that something invariably makes life stronger as well as finer. The ordinary has been, in a measure, overcome, and that which is beyond the ordinary is being gradually evolved. We would rise in the scale in the fullest and the best sense of the term. We must pay close attention to those higher forces and make it a practice to enter frequently into close touch with higher states of consciousness. In fact, we simply must do it, because if we do not, we will continue to move along a very ordinary level. Then we must also bear in mind that it is our purpose to use all the forces we possess, not simply those that we can discern on the outside or that which we are aware of external with the external consciousness, but also those finer and more powerful forces that which we can control and direct only when we ascend to the heights. I'm just like, I'm just going to keep reading. In dealing with these greater powers in man, it will be worth our while to reconsider briefly the psychological field. As long as the mind acts on the surface of consciousness, we have very little control of those finite elements in human life. But when the mind goes into the depths of feeling, into the depths of realization, or into what is called the psychological field, then it is that uh, it touches everything that has real worth or that has the power to evolve, produce, or develop still greater worth. It is the active forces of the psychological field that determined everything that is to take place in the life of man. Both within himself and in his external destiny, we must therefore learn to act through the psychological field if we would master ourselves and create our own future. The psychological field can be defined as that field of subconscious action that permeates the entire personality or that fills, so to speak, every atom of the physical person on a finer plane. The psychological field is a finer field, permeating the ordinary, tangible, physical elements of life, and we enter this field whenever our feelings are deep and sincere. The fact that the psychological field determines real worth, as well as the attainment of greater worth, is easily demonstrated in everyday experience. When a person has anything in them, their nature is always deep. The same is true of people of refinement or culture. There is depth to their nature. And the man of character invariably lives in that greater world of life and power that is back of or beneath the surface of consciousness. If there is something in you, you both live and act through the deeper realms of your life. And those realms constitute the psychological field. Among the important forces coming directly through emotion or feeling, one of the most valuable is that of enthusiasm. In the average mind, enthusiasm runs wild. But we have found that when this force is properly directed, it becomes a constructive power. When you are enthusiastic about something, it is always about something new or something better, something that holds possibilities that you did not realize before. Your enthusiasm, if properly directed, will naturally cause your mind to move towards those possibilities. And enthusiasm is readily directed when you concentrate attention exclusively upon something new that inspires enthusiasm. By turning your attention upon the thing that produces enthusiasm, the mind will move forward toward those greater possibilities that are discerned. This forward movement of the mind will tend to renew and enlarge the mind so that it will gain a still greater conception of those possibilities. This will increase your enthusiasm, which will in turn impel your minds to move forward still further in the same direction. Thus, a still larger conception of those possibilities will be secured, which in turn will increase your enthusiasm ad infinitum. We get it, Larson. We thus realize that if enthusiasm is directed upon the possibilities that originally inspired that enthusiasm, I'll take a sip of water. This chapter is long as fuck. We thus realize that if enthusiasm is directed upon the possibilities that originally inspired that enthusiasm, we will not only continue to be enthused, but we will in that very manner cause the mind to move forward steadily and develop steadily, so that in time it will gain sufficient power to actually work out those possibilities upon which attention has been directed. In this connection, we must also remember that we can grow and advance only as we pass into the new. It is new life, new thoughts, new states of consciousness that are demanded if we are to take any steps at all in advance. And as enthusiasm tends directly to inspire the minds to move towards the new, we see how important it is to continue, not only to live in the spirit of enthusiasm, but to direct that spirit upon the goal in view. It is invariably the enthusiastic mind that moves forward, that does things, and that secures results. Two other forces of great value belonging to this group are appreciation and gratitude. Writing about gratitude over 110 years ago. Whenever you appreciate a certain thing, you become conscious of its real quality. And whenever you become conscious of the quality of anything, you begin to develop that quality in yourself. When we appreciate the worth of a person, we tend to impress the idea of that worth in our own minds and thereby cause the same effect to be produced in a measure in ourselves. The same is true if we appreciate our own worth in a sensible and constructive manner. If we appreciate what we already are and are ambitious to become still more, we focus our minds upon the greater and employ what we already possess as stepping stones toward the greater attainment. But when we do not appreciate ourselves, there are no stepping stones that we can use in attaining greater things. We thus realize why people that do not appreciate themselves never accomplish much and why they finally uh, go downgrade in nearly every instance. When we appreciate the beautiful in anything, we awaken our minds to a higher and better understanding of the beautiful. Our minds thus become, in a measure, more beautiful. The same is true with regard to any quality. Whatever we appreciate, we tend to develop in ourselves. And here we find a remarkable aid to the power of concentration, because we always concentrate attention perfectly, naturally, and thoroughly upon those things that we fully appreciate. Thus, we understand why it is that we tend to develop in ourselves the things that we admire in others. Man, ain't that just fucking just a block of gold? Wasn't that last paragraph just a goddamn, just a diamond rock carved from the mountainside? Refined in the deepest, most prestigious mines of Moria? I think so. I hope you guys do too. Uh, appreciate. Someone want to look up the origin of the word appreciate for me? Smith, are you still here? And you might end on that. We'll come back and finish the other part of that chapter. Oh shit, I mean, we have a couple pages left now. Well, we have 4 pages left. Um, how to tell someone sorry that you never met and will never meet again? Wait, how can you never meet someone again if you never met him in the first place? You're gonna have to run that one by me. It does not compute. Richie said earlier, error 404. um, appreciate. See, I feel like 1650s to esteem or value highly from late Latin ap- appreciatus. Just at a price for sense of be fully conscious of. To be fully conscious, to be fully, or in other words, to be fully realized. Because your conscious is like is the realizing of things into their actual form. Yeah, I'm basically trying to decode appreciate because I feel like the way it's like a light bulb went off in my head, or not a light bulb, but like a my spidey senses were tingling when I read that line about appreciation. And I thought, there's probably some interesting etymology in that word, right? There's got to be. Thank you, Richie. Pretium, price. sense of be fully conscious of 1833. All right. We're gonna call it a night. This was a long chapter, and this will be to be continued. Remember Saturday morning movies when they were like Spider-Man would hit you with to be continued, and you'd be like, no, you're supposed to start, run, and finish every episode within 22 minutes, and we would just lose our shit. Mostly because the odds of you being in this exact spot at the same time next week is just unheard of. So when I was a kid and I saw To Be Continued, I just assumed I would never see that show for the rest of my life. Now every episode of every show is To Be. Now they don't even end movies anymore. All the movies even now, it's like to have a movie have complete closure and have no possibility of a part two is almost unheard of, I feel like. Anywho, what's that say? What? Speaking of COVID, I wonder what that has to say about our society. That nothing ever like comes to an end. It's just this blur of like, oh, it's ending. No, it's like always falling and trying to catch and not being able to. I don't know. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. It could be a great thing. I don't know. I'm just throwing it out there. Thank you guys for tuning in. Oh, an unborn child. Sorry. How I would say use your imagination. I'll tell you what I would do, Drogon, in your situation. But like, hopefully this just stimulates your creativity in another route that's more meaningful to you. But I would write a letter, and then I would try my best to plug the thoughts and feelings of what I wanted to get across and plug it into my dreams somehow. Maybe I could have like hit some sort of hypnagogic state in between place and have the conversation. Write it. Yeah. Basically create something tangible that as a representation, and using your favorite skill. You write poetry, you write music, or you bake. You could fucking bake something dope for the unborn child, and be like, I'll make this for you in the next life or something. I don't know, whatever. Like whatever your route of creation is, it should be like, something that means something to you. Like we're just reading in this chapter, it's fucking the things that you're passionate about and enthusiastic about are going to carry its own sort of certain power. So it's important to direct our emotions and our energies, our enthusiasm into something constructive. So like whatever you're stoked on, use that as your avenue. But it sounds awfully sad. I don't know if it's this damn Duduk flute playing in the background, which is always kind of sad and melancholy, but it sounds like a sad story. So I hope you're able to figure out. I hope you're able to get some release and satisfaction out of whatever you're trying to do, Drogon. Or maybe not take the karma away, Drogon. Like, everyone wants to take away karma. Erase karma. But, like, what if you just have to eat that shit, bro? This could be the Duke flu talking. But maybe you have to just eat that shit. Fucking chalk it up as a loss. Like, wear that bad karma like a fucking, like a weighted coat of armor that just makes you a better person. You know what I mean? Piccolo effect that shit. Maybe that can be your actual repentance, could be to happily wear the karmic debt. I don't know. I don't know why that came to me. I think in my head I thought it's like a way to honor the dead. Maybe it's a wrongfully dead or something like that. Would be to not pretend like it didn't happen or not try to not carry the load. But the most meaningful thing could be to acknowledge the load and carry it happily and like as your sorrow, as your remorse. I don't know. I'm just just throwing it out there, homie. You can throw it back if you want. Yeah. And who knows, maybe that sort of appreciation will be all that was needed. That you actually feel the karma of the situation and feel it whole. Maybe that going through that process is actually what it'll take to like let go of it, period, instead of just worrying about getting rid of it. You know what I mean? All right, I'm out though. Sit tight. We have some cool stuff coming through for the channel and new off YouTube platforms for us to gather and integrate. It's super cool. Thank you for moderating. Agent Smith, thank you kindly also for moderating. Thank you guys for being here and contributing to the chat room, being homies, and sharing the content, liking the content. Yeah, thank you. I'll see you guys soon. I'll see you guys soon. Thank you.